Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the most speedier aircraft in the world today.
Race. Automatic. Still is.
Your United States Air Force's F-22 Raptor!
Have you ever seen a fighter jet? Maybe you've seen a fighter jet like the F-16, F-35, or maybe even the F-22 Raptor. But what's the difference between these jets? You may have noticed that the F-22 kind of looks like it's drifting in midair or doing air wheelies, while others are kind of just flying. This is because of its thrust vectoring, a trait that very few planes utilize today. Thrust vectoring, also known as thrust vector control, is the ability of an aircraft, rocket, or other vehicle to manipulate the direction of the thrust from its engines or motors to control the attitude or angular velocity of the vehicle. The original concept of thrust vectoring was first introduced in the 1910s, was utilized on His Majesty airship operated by Great Britain. The airship used fans to change its direction, and while this method was effective, it really didn't amount to anything, as this technology was very new for its time. From about 1912 to 1970, the modern-day concept of thrust vectoring was non-existent, and it wasn't until 1990, after the development of 4th-gen fighters and current development of 5th-gen fighters, when the first airplane utilizing thrust vectoring was created, the X-31. Directed by Richard H. Truly, the X-31 was created by NASA, and overall NASA has been the most credited organization for thrust vectoring technologies. At the time, they were developing this advancement to implement it on 5th-gen and 4th-gen fighter jets, and since then, there have been many experiments in aircraft utilizing thrust vectoring, mainly for military purposes. However, there have been a few examples of experimental thrust vectoring technologies for airliners, like the Boeing 727 and 747, which ultimately failed but are still pretty cool. So before we show you how it works, let's dive into specifics. We should probably explain the different types so you can understand what's going on. There are generally 4 different types of thrust vectoring. Type 1. The nozzle moves before the narrowest part, helping control airflow early for better engine performance. Type 2. The nozzle moves at the narrowest part, allowing precise control of airflow for high-speed engines. Type 3. The nozzle itself doesn't move, but vanes or paddles guide the exhaust after it exits to change direction. Type 4. Uses extra air or gas jets to push the exhaust in a different direction, like how the Harrier jet moves. Thrust vectoring also comes in different dimensional forms, affecting how an aircraft maneuvers. The F-22 Raptor uses 2D thrust vectoring, with nozzles that pivot up and down for enhanced agility. It also employs shock vector control, refining exhaust flow for precise maneuvering. In contrast, jets like the Su-35 use 3D thrust vectoring, allowing thrust to be directly changed in any direction. While this provides extreme maneuverability, it also adds complexity and risk. Some jets, like the F-35B and Harrier, use thrust vectoring for VTOL and STOLVL operations, enabling vertical takeoffs and landings. Now, let's demonstrate some of these systems and how they work in the simulator. Alright, welcome to the sim here. Today I will demonstrate what thrust vectoring can really do to a high-performance 5th-gen fighter jet. As you can see, we are in fact in the F-22, one of the most advanced fighters in today's current inventory. This jet utilizes two-dimensional thrust vectoring. Here's what it looks like on the ground. As you can see, as I pull back on the stick, the thrust points up. And as I push down, the thrust vector goes down. We are now airborne here, and I'm about to show you guys a maneuver unique to the Raptor, the Cobra maneuver. This maneuver is only capable because of the thrust vector. Here it is. As you may notice, this aircraft is bigger on the top and thicker. This is because of a propulsion fan that pushes thrust down. So as I press this button, you'll start to notice these fans open up. The aircraft is now transitioned into a VTOL configuration. You're now hovering thanks to thrust vector. Since the beginning of aerospace technologies, from the Wright brothers to modern-day NASA and SpaceX, people have been fueled to keep advancing, through grit and through hard work, defining what's possible in the endless sky of knowledge. A common theme seen throughout the development of thrust vectoring and other aerospace technologies is the use of trial and error in its testing phases, and when NASA would develop prototype utilizing the new technology of thrust vector. Thrust vectoring is a still evolving technology that is still being modified today, and in 20 to 30 years, thrust vectoring will most likely be one of the most dominant and utilized advancements in modern aerospace.